Hello, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Sean. I did get a new camera. Does it look any better for you guys? I'm going to turn the light up a little bit. There we go. What do you guys think? New camera, new day, new season. It's just a season of growth right now. But welcome back to the channel. Glad you guys are here. Wasn't necessarily planning to do a video today. Obviously, I wasn't here this morning. Apologies for that. It's combination of it's been a bit of a slow news day, and just I had some things going on this morning. My wife's is obviously gone right now. She's off doing some dog related stuff, and we wanted to make sure we got some time this morning to spend some time together and hang out, get breakfast and whatnot. So here I am today, though. Not a ton of transfer news. Not a ton of news in general. Potentially some news regarding our friendly tonight, so we'll touch back on that a little later. But some things that just popped up today that kind of like the other day when I went on that bit of a rant about some of the other big clubs, minus City because they're not a big club. But just some things that have come across my mind. I really wanted to get your guys' thoughts and get your perspective and your opinion on a few different things. So we're going to get stuck in on that tonight. Before we do get started, go ahead and hit that like button for me. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And let's get stuck in. Danny B, big up, my guy. How are you doing today? I know, it's just a later one today, but wanted to stop by today because I love you all that much. We did get a bit of interesting news this morning. I guess you could call it news. It's not really news, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it even more. I was hesitant to even bring it up because, I don't really like sharing news that's not really news. But Santi JFM, so Santi Auna, journalist, tried to give us a little bit of an update today regarding Noussair Mazraoui, claiming, it's almost a done deal. Mazraoui will join United. Bayern Munich have authorized him to join United. He's going to be taking a private flight in the next couple of days. Medical is supposedly booked for Tuesday, barring any sort of last-minute changes to that deal. But that is supposedly what's happening. Again, that 5-year option with an extra option. And he even added, Santi, that Ten Hag would like Mazraoui to be with the squad for the Community Shield, but we'll see how that goes. I did mention the other day, and was that yesterday, that I do think that we would probably see something more concrete with Mazraoui, Wan-Bissaka stuff, hopefully by the end of the weekend, if not Monday. But it does sound like that is probably going to be the next move that we will be making, and we'll touch a little bit about that a little later on today, but just wanted to share some of that. Wanted to talk a little bit today about Ugarte. It is news but not news. Again, it's one of those potentially one of those 2+2 and getting like chair kind of situations, but hear me out, all right, because I have been right about something that's similar to this before in the past, so hear me out. So talking about PSG lost Kylian Mbappe for free, which that's a huge blow for them. He represented a potentially a lot of money had they gotten a fee, considering what they paid for him to bring him to Paris from Monaco. They paid 180 million euros for Mbappe. So PSG, so that's a big chunk of change they missed out on. All right. So they've signed João Neves, it looks like, for around 70 mil. They've just signed a keeper, which a lot of people haven't picked up on. They've signed a keeper. He's like 25 years old for 20 million. So basically a backup keeper they signed for 20 million. They clearly want some players, right? Luis Enrique's got his kind of set players. They've signed players, but again, like most of us, their finances are finite, and they need to sell to buy. They're kind of in that stage right now, except unless, of course, you're Man City. You can just do whatever you want every single year. That is what it is, neither here nor there. So that being said, there was an interesting little development coming out in the last week or so regarding Julian Alvarez. And then there was a little bit of an update coming out today from Argentine journalist Gaston Edul. He's with TYC Sports, right? So Edul reports that both Atletico Madrid and PSG are interested in Man City's attacker Julian Alvarez. Fabrizio Romano has pretty much echoed the same thing. He's also added that Manuel Ugarte is still waiting for Man United. Personal terms have been agreed. He wants to come United. Personal terms have been agreed for weeks, right? Man United and PSG remain in contact. Loan with an obligation to buy, also discussed. We've talked about this many times. We need to sell players. We still want Ugarte. PSG need to sell players. It is what it is. We're still miles apart, it sounds like, on the valuation. So the report from Edul also claims that Atletico Madrid are said to be preparing a formal offer of 60 million euros, all right, for Julian Alvarez. But Edul has also said that PSG they've already presented a formal offer to Man City that's supposedly higher than that. So again, there's been some interesting back and forth in the media, in one-on-one interviews with Pep and Julian Alvarez, who does he want to go, this and that and stuff, like things like that. Pep made some comments about the agent. Karina Mason, do you think we'll get top 4? Do I think we'll get top 4? What do you think? Danny, let me know. What do you guys think? I think that a lot of people are going to want top 4, but I think that, ask me again, we're going to do a video towards the end of the transfer window. We're going to talk about expectations for the upcoming season, but you let me know in the chat. We're going to do a video on that a little later on, though. So we get this back and forth between Julian Alvarez, Pep Guardiola, the media. Does he want to stay? Does he want to go? Gaston Edul claims it's very likely that Alvarez will be leaving City this summer. Now, the reason that I wonder if this has something to do with Ugarte is because, again, of PSG's finances and the amount they're reportedly offering. Again, there's precedence in football with this not too long ago. And like I said, I have been right about this before. I'm not saying I'm right this time. I'm just saying similar situations have happened and I've speculated and I've been right. So the summer we signed Paul Pogba, I had the same feeling that deal was wrapped up before it was actually made official, right? And this was because of Juventus' transfer of Gonzalo Higuain. Remember, they bought Gonzalo Higuain that summer for like 90 million euros. And at that time, I was speculating online and talking to people like, where are they getting this money from? They don't have money. They wouldn't be spending this kind of money on Higuain if they hadn't, sold a player behind closed doors, basically. It was a number that was very close to the fee that, Pogba was reportedly going to be bought for. And again, it was odd that they would bring in Higuain for that much. Enter United paying more than 100 million for Paul Pogba that summer, not too many days after that fact. So again, super speculative. It's probably, but again, it's not just about what's the news and what's the big official here we goes and the Bombas. Like, this is me speculating, sharing my thoughts, and most important, like I always say, it's your channel. I want to know your thoughts. Danny, we got Karina. Karina, want yes, realistic, can't see it. Top 4. It's going to be interesting because it really comes down to if you think Liverpool are going to get top 4 with Arne Slot in his first season. Danny B, if Deadwood is not sold, we don't add a lot of squad depth, it would be a struggle to get top 4. Yeah, top 4 it's hard. It's not like other leagues. Top 4 in the Premier League is a struggle, and it's always, and even like the top 6, top 7 are a struggle. And Aston Villa snuck in this last year. Newcastle the year before. Brighton are never too far away, although last year was a bit of a struggle. Issa says, is Ugarte really coming to United? Please confirm. I can't confirm anything, but I'm not Fabrizio Romano. I'm not David Ornstein. This is me just speculating based on what PSG are doing right now in the market. They want Julian Alvarez. According to Gaston Edul, who writes for TY Sports, he's an Argentine journalist. They have submitted an offer of higher than Atletico Madrid's potential offer of 60 million euros for Julian Alvarez. Now, PSG have already signed João Neves. So where are PSG getting all this money from? We know that, PSG tend to be a wealthy club, but they don't, their resources are just as limited as the rest of us. They have FFP they have to worry about. They took a huge loss not getting anything for Kylian Mbappe, right? And they have tended to buy a lot of players year after year, especially midfield. They buy a lot of midfielders. They just signed Fabian Ruiz not that long ago. Paulinho, they signed, not João Paulinho, but Paulinho, they signed a while ago from Porto. They've got players and they're going to be struggling. So it's all a little interesting to me that PSG are making all these moves while we're haggling over Ugarte. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen. I'm just, again, asking what your thoughts are on some of this. Karina, we need Rashford and Sancho to play well. I mean, yeah, we need all our players to play well. Danny B. Lurkers, don't forget that the like button. It costs nothing and help the channel grow. I appreciate you doing the Lord's work out here, Danny B. I love it. As far as midfielders, though, Fabrizio Romano also added earlier that Sofian Amrabat does remain an option for us. It was reported today that Amrabat's been training on his own since rejoining Fiorentina, his teammates, and it sounds like he's not in the plans, at least for their preseason friendlies. I wouldn't rule out the possibility, and we spoke about this before, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of us kind of keeping Amrabat on hold, kind of like your plan B, like your backup kind of option in case some of these other things don't work out. Again, I think I have a dog here on my nose. That's what happens when you have dogs. I think, again, we're like a lot of clubs, we're in a position where we need to sell to buy. And so we're haggling. We don't want to pay what people are asking for. We don't want to accept what some people are offering for our players. And so we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. I do think that when one of these deals is finalized, it's going to be a little bit of a mini domino effect, but we will see. Karina, yes, all, but we carried Rashford. Rashford did not have a great season last year, but I read a stat the other day, and when people talk about Rashford being poor, and even people talk about his 22-23 season where he had such a good output and won that award and everything is not as good. So Rashford's best season was that season, right? He had 45 goals and assists in 22-23. In Di Maria's best season, he only had 40 goals and assists. Gareth Bale's best season, only 41. Raheem Sterling's best season, only 42 goals and assists. Frank Ribery's best season, only 44 goals and assists. And Vinicius Jr.'s best season, 44 goals and assists. So Rashford, in his best season, has outperformed all of those amazing attackers, amazing wingers. So something to keep in mind before people start writing Rashford off in the future. Not saying that's what you're doing, Karina. I'm just saying, like, Rashford is not as bad as some people say he is. He's definitely not as good as some people say he is, but like, I would never call Rashford world class, but he's not as bad. He made some bad decisions. Let's see if he can pick it back up. Again, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Amrabat coming in on loan, coming in towards the end of the transfer window. Remember, we had that loan to buy option. We didn't exercise it. Sounds like we could be getting that for less. We've talked about that a couple times. If you're new, let me know your thoughts on Amrabat. Would you take him back? Would he be your first choice? Would you kind of wait and see what happens with the rest of the window? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on Ugarte. Is PSG's spending activity? They've spent, again, 70 mil on João Neves, 20 mil on a keeper. They're supposedly offering another, more than 60 mil for Julian Alvarez. That's a lot. That's 150 million basically already that PSG are allegedly looking to spend. 90 that they already have spent. So it's a bit suspect, but we'll see what happens there. I think, again, the dominoes could fall, especially if Fulham come in with a better offer for McTominay. I think we might see a lot of things change. So one player we're for sure sounds like we're bringing in, though, is, again, Shido Obi Martin, Arsenal's former academy starlet. Apparently this very prodigious young striker. Again, I'm not going to pretend I know a ton about Obi Martin because I don't watch Arsenal's academy, but he rejected the contract. Ruud van Nistelrooy convinced him to join our pathway, what he's seen us do with Mainoo and everything. Sounds like he could be third option. Sounds like that's going to be finalized here. He's expected to undergo his medical in the coming days, and that's coming from Dharmesh Sheth with Sky Sports. Then to be looking like Cass, Ugarte, Amrabat to cover the 6, and Mount Bruno Collier cover the 8. Presuming McTominay, Eriksen will be sold. You think you see Collier as an 8? I know Collier had some comments earlier saying he's definitely better off the ball, but he's trying to improve his on the ball. He even made some comments that made me think of McTominay a little bit, where he said, you don't want to hide from the play. You don't want to hide from situations. And that's something that a lot of people, including myself, have criticized Scott McTominay for doing. When he's looking at Amrabat or one of his center backs, he's trying to play the ball out to him, and there's an opposition player in between. McTominay doesn't move to make himself an option. He's just like hiding, like he's like trying to play hide and seek or something. Like, you can't do that. You can't hide. And I think McTominay kind of skates by in some of these matches sometimes when he does that, and it's really frustrating. What do you think if we get Ivan Toney? Didn't we talk about Ivan Toney recently? That someone linked us, or no, it was reported that his agent and he and Toney himself had told Brentford he wants to leave. Reportedly, he wants United. We talked about that a little bit. Do we think we need a striker? It sounds like Obi Martin is set to be third choice. We've got Xerxes, we've got Højlund. I don't know if we're going to be looking at Tony. I don't think I would want to spend the limited amount of funds we have on another striker right now. We really need a midfielder. We probably need it. We need a fullback probably as well. So Danny B, we have to see more of Collier to know if he's a deep line playmaker or a box to box ball winning meat. I feel like he's definitely more of that latter. I haven't seen a whole lot of playmaking, and from what I've watched, limited amount I've watched him in his academy minutes, and what some other people have said who watch more academy and know more about him. They said he's not going to be the midfielder who's going to be. He's not the Frankie De Jong. He's not even really the Michael Carrick, the guy who's going to make those passes. I think what I've seen from him so far in preseason, he definitely looks like his best attribute is breaking up play, knowing where to be, knowing how to just clean things up, sense the danger, and kind of just handle it and cover. And it sounds like he is a bit more proactive in that regard, where he's not afraid to step out from that deeper role to come and kind of break up play higher up the pitch. But it's what I'm seeing from him in preseason. It's like sometimes when he gets the ball, he doesn't look too sure. Like he's good with the little triangles and stuff, but I don't see him kind of pinging those passes. He reminds me of a little bit of like when my dogs chase a squirrel or a rabbit, and like they're good at getting to it, but then like once they got it cornered, they have no idea what to do with it. They're like, what do I do? They just look at me, and I'm like, leave it alone, let it go. We've got I garden, and I use pots, right, for my garden. One of them's empty, but we just discovered yesterday there's a rabbit must have made a nest in the empty one. There's 4 tiny little baby bunnies in there, and the dogs are like, we see them, we want to sniff them, we don't know what to do with them. So that was a tangent, but oh yeah, Dele is more of a 6. He's just as good but different than anyone you have. Yeah, I want to see a little bit more of him. I haven't seen enough of him, at least in this preseason. Like he looks like he's fine, right? But I want to see more from him, like he's not doing enough. I just want to see him play more so I can get a better understanding. But Karina, I do think that Obi Martin, Xerxes, and Højlund are probably going to be our strikers heading into next season. Plus, we still have Wheatley. If Wheatley doesn't go on loan or something, I'm sure Wheatley will be in and around the matchday squad. Maybe early Carabao Cup matches. Maybe some of these coming on as a sub in FA Cup if we're playing like Oxford or something. Who knows? Preston. And if it might be better if he does go on loan. He looked bright when he came on last season as a sub. Obviously, he's been playing a little bit. You could tell he's eager. He wants to get on the score sheet and whatnot. Unlucky with that penalty shootout against Arsenal. Missed that, but that's okay. You're young. It's going to happen for you, but we'll see. Isa says, I prefer seeing Eriksen over what? I can't see. There's an emoji in the way. Eriksen off, then Scott. What is your take? I think that... and we've talked about Eriksen and McTominay in the past in other videos. I think that on the ball with time and space, Eriksen is very, very good. I think he has a lot to offer. I think that defensively, against the press, in that double pivot where he tends to play, where he's a liability. He can't be trusted defensively. He just can't. And I think that long-term injury really kind of accelerated the decline of his legs and things. And so I think he has a lot to offer teams. I just don't think he has a lot to offer in the Premier League at this level anymore. I think you need to be able to contribute off the ball. And if you can't, then, I said the same thing about Pogba when we had Pogba. Like he, in that 6 role, like in that double pivot where Pogba tended to play, he was not great defensively. And you can't afford to carry a player like that these days in the modern game. You have to be able to offer a little bit more than just a really good pinged pass or something. So Pogba was not as good at holding off the press as I think thought he was, because he got caught on the ball a lot and gave away possession far too much for my liking. But both need to go, to be honest, says Danny B. Yeah, I think we could definitely improve on both. I think that if we have, and again, I tweeted this yesterday, because West Ham are buying Nicholas Füllkrug from Dortmund for like 32 million. This guy, he's like 31 years old. He had one decent season before he joined Dortmund, and they're spending that kind of money on him. Fulham are dropping 35 million on Emile Smith-Rowe. We need to hold out for a little bit more than McTominay. I know. We need to get him. But I you have to look at it from INEOS perspective as well, not just the fan perspective. That's what I try to do. I try to see all the perspectives that I can. Um, they're gonna look at these other prices. If you're selling your house and it's basically the same as the house next door, and the house next door sells for like 400,000, and people are offering you like 250,000 for yours, you're like, no, 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 we're not doing that. You're gonna give me what this other house is going for. Like that's just good business. It's not INEOS being the Glazers. It's not trying to be greedy. It's they know that they can get more, and so we're going to see what we do there. But yes, I do agree with Danny. Both probably need to go just because I think we can improve on both. So speaking of INEOS, though, one of the other things I wanted to talk about today, if you looked at the thumbnail, is I have a question for you, something to consider, something to think about. We know INEOS have experience in the transfer market. We know Ashworth, Wilcox, Barada. These guys all have experience in the transfer market. And I don't hold too much of this against Ashworth and co. because they were on gardening leave. But do we think INEOS may have failed to prepare properly for this transfer window? Do you think they've not maybe gone about it in the best way? Do you think maybe that's kind of hurt us going into the start of the season based on what we've seen? So again, preface this. I've said many times, let's not panic about the lack of signings recently. We're in a sell to buy, but I think that the plan and you're handling you're covering all your bases well, things do happen more smoothly than I think I would admit that they have been. So what I mean is, have they misjudged the importance of getting the summer business done in time for the start of the league season? And Danny says we started too late. And I think that that's typical for United. I think that it was going to be because we know INEOS were doing this audit of the whole thing, right? And I know that because they're good, I think that they wanted to make sure they were making the right decision, wanted to make sure they were doing their due diligence, wanted to look at the club kind of globally, as in top to bottom, ins and outs, from the IT department to the academy to the women's to everything, before really deciding what to tackle, stadium redevelopment, all that stuff. So again, I know I've been saying not to panic, and we're moving, we are moving, and deals take time, and everyone's navigating FFP, PSR. But that was a few weeks ago now, and it's been several weeks since we made a signing. You'd have thought that maybe we'd be doing a bit more in the market in the month, since we've signed Xerxes and Euro, who signed a week later. Obviously, we are moving. We did put in the double offer for Delit and Mazraoui, and it looks like Wan-Bissaka's out the door, but still really no development as far as midfielder goes. And I think that we do have, as Danny says, we have a lot of people that we need to sell. And, Casemiro, perhaps McTominay, Eriksen, again, another one. No one really knows right now what's going on with Sancho, Anthony, Ahmad. Like, are these guys all stick around? We can't. That's a lot of wingers to go into the season with. Not all of them are going to handle it. And I think that the problem is, when you're new owners and you have a new recruitment team and you come in and you start late in the transfer window, basically, you have to, because Ashworth and Barada weren't even allowed to work yet. They're coming in cold, and they're like, all right, now we need to catch up here, basically. I've not changed my stance, though, that it's very important to get new players in for preseason. I've said that many, many times. We only had 2, and one of them isn't even with the squad because, they decided that Xerxes wasn't going to travel with the squad and he was going to train on his own and do that. And now the other one was basically playing all these preseason games, and now he's injured. New signings need time. They need time with their teammates. They need time with their manager. They need time to get match fit. And it's happened. And I worry that INEOS are kind of falling into the same trap that we did under the old regime, where we were into, a couple matches into the season before we were finalizing deals and getting players over the line. Casemiro didn't join us until a couple matches into that season, when we had already lost a couple, and that's why we panicked. Anthony, we could have got Anthony for like 35 million had we signed him in June when Ten Hag wanted to sign him. Didn't sign him until August, and Ajax upped their price. We've talked about that many, many times. Amrabat, similar situation. We identified him early on. The funds weren't there. We haggled. We wanted defenders. We got Johnny Evans on a free. No Kim Min-jae, no Pavar, no nothing. And it's like, And again, INEOS weren't here then, but what we did before has not totally changed this summer. And again, this is why I posed the question. Danny B says we need 4 or 5 signings and we can't sell Deadwood because no one will buy them. It'll be harder than they thought, I think. And I do think it's harder than they thought. Like I said, we're about to start the season in a couple weeks. It's literally in a couple weeks. We've got this match, Community Shield, and then Fulham on what, the 16th at the Friday or something. And we're still haggling over Delit. We're still not looking at midfielders yet. We haven't really sold as many players as we probably should be trying to get out the door. You know, Kambwala left, Greenwood, Donny van de Beek. That's it, right? That's pretty much it. Let me know if I'm missing anybody. Wan-Bissaka probably going to be going out the door soon, but that's almost like it's a like for like kind of a situation. I know we went into the window probably looking at 2 defenders. Victor Lindelof still here. You know, what's going on there? Is Harry Maguire going to be here next season or not? We don't know. Sancho, again, I don't know what's going on. Danny B, any half decent offers we get, we just have them. We can't be overinflating prices on overpaid average players. Yeah, I think there's a difference though between overinflating the what we want and also, you know, expecting, you know, a realistic market value price based, like I said, based on what some of these other random players are going for. If Emile Smith-Rowe is going for 35 million, Scott McTominay should be at least going for the same amount if you want to be realistic about it. The guy scored basically last season and Emile Smith-Rowe had starts in the league. It's just, this is like, I get it from I'm get it from an INEOS perspective as far as that goes. And I would want more than, you know, 20 million for Scott McTominay. I mean, that's not me saying like, hell, he's too good, I don't want to lose him. It's like, no, at least 30 million. And we know that's what it sounds like United are holding out for. And we see this exact same situation with PSG. They're holding out for a certain amount. And we talked about that with Ugarte too. You know, they did they might have overpaid for Ugarte, and now they're trying not. It's the same with João Felix. You know, Atletico wanted a lot of money for João Felix a couple of years ago. Nobody wanted to pay it because they overpaid for João Felix. Then it'd be like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, take the 10 with 5 and add-ons because you only. And yeah, that's what I was saying the other day, yesterday. You know, West Ham were offering 10, we were holding out for 20. I think it's probably going to be in that 15 range, which is fine. It is what it is. I know I said last month or so I would hope for like 2025, but I think that what Mazraoui brings is worth getting in soon. And it sounds like INEOS and Ten Hag agree. So it's interesting. Again, are they being, like Danny says, are they being a little naive on how easily they thought they were going to sell players? We pay players a lot. There's a reason Casemiro was still here and he's not in the Saudi league, is because he's on 300 grand a week. He still has, what, 2-3 years left on his contract. He's 31, 32 now. That was never going to be an easy sell for anybody. You almost have to look at how much you pay him for the rest of his contract versus how much you might get for him. And you might have to just say, let's just cancel his contract because we're going to be paying him more if we keep him and he goes for free in 3 years. Like, just end it now and let someone else buy him and let him sit there. I mean, there's a reason David De Gea is still a free agent, you guys, because he was getting paid, what, 300,000 a week. And he apparently, you know, can't find a club. David De Gea is not old for a keeper either. He could still go play for another 3, 4, 5 years. And so and it's the same with Phil Jones. You remember how many years we kept upping Phil Jones' contract? Like, no one was going to buy Phil Jones. Like, and I have nothing but respect and love for Phil Jones. He always fought hard for this club. It's injuries, just unfortunate as hell. But no, like, what were we thinking there? Like, at some point you have to look, you get to a line where like the cost, they crisscross, and there's a point there where you're like, no, we got to sell him. It's going to cost us more if he sees out his contract, like, and no one's buying him. Casemiro is only going to be less appealing if he stays here and we try to sell him again next summer. He's going to be another year older. You know, if he hits another long-term injury, it's going to be another slow start. It's going to not look great shop window wise. Like, honestly, Casemiro, like, over McTominay would be the one that I'd be taking almost any amount for right now. McTominay, I'm more prone to holding out for a little bit. But let me know your thoughts in the chat. Danny B says, I agree, we should pay Slab off last year with the money West Ham were giving us, and now we stuck with him and he leaves for free next year. Yeah, and it's like everybody took a pay cut this summer because for missing out on Champions League. So he's not making as much as he was making last year. So you'd think that that would be more appealing, but I mean, maybe West Ham are just kind of bitter that we didn't accept that offer. I don't know. But I do think that he could go do a job at West Ham. The question is, it's a different West Ham than it was last summer. And again, and I've talked about this many times. It's not just enough to look at the club and say, like, oh, West Ham, they play this, deep block, low block, counterattack football. No, that was under David Moyes. Julian Lopetegui is a whole different kettle of fish. Aston Villa used to be known for one side of football. Unai Emery's changed all that. Managers will change the way these teams are playing, and so I think that Maguire could still go to like a Sheffield United or an Everton, something like that, and do very well. But I just don't think that maybe. I think the opportunity for him to go to West Ham might have come and gone because I don't know if he's a Lopetegui type of player. But we will see. Maybe that's a West Ham ownership situation and not so much a manager situation. Two players that we could be holding on to for the definite, next several years, though. This is coming from Graham Bailey, who's writing with HITC Sport Football. He claims that United are advancing in contract extension talks with Kobbie Mainoo and Amad Diallo. Amad, I believe, is entering the final year of his contract, but he's got that option for the year that we always put in. Apparently, remember we started talks with Kobbie Mainoo earlier in the season and his representatives, but neither side, neither United or Kobbie, was too worried about that. It sounds like Kobbie wanted to focus on the season while it was ongoing. I mean, and that's just maturity. That's just someone who's thinking pragmatically, thinking unselfishly, who's looking out for the club and not just his own interest. And what that tells me too is that he's got good people around him who aren't going to be whispering in his ear like, no, you got to get your bag and get out, man. No, they're like, no, man, you could just focus, get down to work, show people what you can do. And then again, even if you want to look at it from his point of view, that can only help you in contract negotiations earlier. I mean, I wonder what the difference would be in wages, for instance, or the terms and bonuses had we done that early on as opposed to now where he comes in and he's scoring match winners in the FA Cup final and stuff. I mean, that's a little bit of leverage, I think. So not saying that he would do that. I'm just saying, it helps him. And big up Endrick, by the way, Real Madrid's young striker. He was doing an interview earlier. He listed Sir Bobby Charlton as one of his idols growing up as a child. He also listed Cristiano Ronaldo too. Pretty cool to see a young footballer, a young kid with some ball knowledge, right? To recognize, the class that was Sir Bobby Charlton. Again, I was watching that 68 final against Benfica last week. And Sir Bobby was the conduit for everything. He was basically the Bruno Fernandes of that team. Obviously, George Best was a threat. They were hacking down George Best left and right. The one guy who people don't talk about as much, and I've talked about before, is Aston, a winger that we had back then. He was super, super dangerous whenever he got the ball. If you have a chance, go watch that 68 final again and check that out. That was a legit match. But rest in peace, Sir Bobby. Big up Endrick for recognizing class and shouting it out for everybody. How are you guys feeling about tonight's friendly against the Scousers? Just before I did go live, I did see some reports that match might not be going on. Does anyone know for sure off the top of your head? I wanted to check before what was going on. I saw there was going to be some really bad weather down in, I think it's South Carolina. Is that where that is tonight? But I think there was something like flash floods or something was going on tonight. You guys see that? I saw a lot of people were mentioning that it might be canceled. Obviously, whenever there's lightning, the game is delayed. We saw that the other day. The team my local semi-pro that I used to be on the board for, their first match of this season that's now ended, was delayed. Actually, it was canceled at halftime because of thunder or lightning, and so that's just the norm. So interesting. We'll see if we end up actually having a friendly tonight. Honestly, I wouldn't care if we didn't have a friendly. I would just rather us go back to Manchester. I hate friendlies. Have I mentioned that once or twice? Can't stand them. I mean, another word for friendly for me, like I've said, is injury roulette. It's just, you never know what's going to happen. I don't care if we don't score a single goal. I don't care if Liverpool beat us by 87 goals. If we lose another player to injury, I mean, that I'll lose my shit. If we get through this match with everybody intact, that's the win for me. I'll take that right now. I'll bite your hand off right now to just end this game and have no injuries. I will do it. Danny B watching. Oh, you're a boxing guy? Danny B's watching the boxing. Yeah, 100%. It says just head home. Like, cool. You saw South Carolina. Go get some seafood. Go check out, the cool historic, and then just go home. Like, I don't just forget it, man. Same goes for the Community Shield against City. Just play the kids. Rashford's a doubt, I guess, tonight anyway. Sounds like Ten Hag doesn't want to risk injuries, but you never know. But just play the kids. Play the kids tonight. If we do that, play the kids against City. Play the kids until Fulham. Heck, play the kids. Play the coaches. Put Root out there for all I care. Play the tea lady. Play fucking Fred the Red right now. I don't care. I don't want to lose one more single player to injury. I will lose my shit. There is a chance, though, that tonight could be Aaron Wan-Bissaka's last match in the United shirt. How are you guys feeling about that? Are you happy that he might be going? Would you want us to hold out for more money? Do you think Mazraoui is better? I said before, everybody keeps talking like they were talking on the radio earlier. Like they were waxing lyrical about Aaron Wan-Bissaka's defensive ability. One-on-one, he's like the best defender. He's a really good defender. I've told you before, though, if you look at the tackling metrics, Mazraoui actually averages more tackles per 90. Wan-Bissaka has more interceptions, but again, the way the modern game is, the way Ten Hag wants to play, the fullbacks need to be able to contribute more in the attack, in the final third, the overlaps, the underlaps, putting those balls into the area. And Mazraoui just is streets ahead of Wan-Bissaka in all of these metrics. So, and like Danny says, he needs to go if we want to progress to the next level. I think in a Jose team or in an Ollie team who bought him in those counter-attacking, win the ball back, and then launch the attack, in that, he's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Same with Harry Maguire. You want to just put bodies in there, win the ball back, get it up the attack, and launch a counterattack. That's fine. I have no problem with us even counterattacking when the opportunity is on. I said many times we need to be utilizing Onana's distribution a little more in that regard, in my opinion anyway. There are chances that are on for counterattacks, but it's like we force ourselves too frequently to slow down, to start building out when the counterattack is there. We've seen him do it. Like, he's put that ball on a dime, like prime Beckham. I've seen Onana do this in a United shirt. But as Danny says, Wan-Bissaka is good, and just like Harry Maguire, he's good in some of those systems, not great in this system. And it is what it is. He's been playing every minute pretty much of the, not every minute, but he's been playing frequently for the preseason, getting involved, shop window. Let's just, if there is a chance he's going to be leaving, it'd be interesting to see if he plays tonight, for instance, because would we want to risk it if he's potentially going to West Ham? If Wan-Bissaka plays tonight and he picks up an injury and that whole thing falls apart, there is going to be a Sean-shaped hole in this window, and I will jump out the freaking window and break every bone in my body out of frustration. I shit you not. Rant over. Speaking of injuries, though, I saw some reports that United's medical staff plans to assess Lenny Euro's injuries when the squad gets back to Manchester. Don't let those fucking idiots anywhere near Euro or anybody else in the squad. As far as I'm concerned, sack the lot, bring in all new medical staff. That should have been one of the first things INEOS did after what we dealt with last season, one of the worst injury crises that we've ever seen, one of the worst injury situations in the league last season. Sack the medical staff. Don't let them near. I wouldn't touch United's medical staff to put on a Band-Aid, let alone assess a player's injuries or physical health or fitness. I'm not even joking. Keep the Flintstone Band-Aid in the box. Don't come near me. Go sit over there. Play with your little kid doctor set that you got off Amazon or the dollar store. Let the adults handle it. Danny B agrees, says 100. The injuries, and that's not even me saying like, oh, we've had a lot of injuries. That's literally the misdiagnoses and the way that they've totally mishandled so many of our players. Even as far back as like Rashford's issues under Ollie that he put off getting surgery for, getting medical attention for, because he wanted to go to the Euros. Where is the professional medical opinion in that situation? completely missing a broken bone in Lisandro Martinez's foot, rushing him back to play. You could tell early last season from the first couple minutes that Martinez was not right. You could tell. And sure enough, the foot wasn't fully healed. Casemiro, medical staff misdiagnosed Casemiro last season. He had to go get an outside opinion, and they discovered some issues that our medical staff apparently couldn't do because, again, what do I say? It's Dr. Pepper, Dr. Dre, and Dr. Seuss just chilling in lab coats with their little reflecting things on their head like it's a freaking Charlie Chaplin show. And they're like, yeah, cool. You're fine. Slap a little Windex on it. You'll be all right. If you know, you know. So keep him away from Lenny Euro. Go get someone else. Like, it's embarrassing. You know, I don't know how INEOS can come in and do an audit and look at the IT department, look at the academy dorms and say that's not cool, but then look at the medical staff and say, no, you guys are good. You got this. Nope. It doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take a businessman. It doesn't take any sort of expert whatsoever to see that our medical staff is not fit for purpose. They told Ten Hag, yeah, Shaw, Malacia, they'll be back. They'll be fine. Reguilon can go. You know, we'll be fine. They'll come back. And how did that go? Do you remember how that went? That went Lindelof playing left back. That went Amrabat playing left back. I mean, come on, guys. Whew, take a breath. Let me get some water. It's hot up here. Did you see all this stuff coming out about Conor Gallagher at Chelsea being banished from first team training because he's not signing a contract or accepting a move? Supposedly he's been offered a couple contracts and he's not signed, and so Chelsea are basically like, well, you're done training until you make a decision. What is going on there? Football fans are weird. I don't think Conor Gallagher is anywhere near as bad as some Chelsea fans make him out to be. I think he fights. He's not the greatest on the ball, but the guy literally covers every blade of grass for that club, and he does that every single time he sets foot on the pitch. I thought he was Crystal Palace's best player in the season when he was on loan there. And it's not his fault that Chelsea have been a shambles for the last several years. I mean, has any player looked amazing at Chelsea in the last couple of years? But everyone's singling out Conor Gallagher, and I think they're doing it because he's homegrown and they get profit and they want to buy more players because there are apparently players out there who Todd Bowley hasn't signed for Chelsea. I mean, who knew? Guys on some crazy Leo DiCaprio settings, right? Let's just buy all these teenagers. But can you imagine if that were Ten Hag? I mean, Ten Hag got freaking ostracized just for trying to help Sancho and then saying like, well, you're done. Like, Danny B says that's nasty. It's messed up, man. And that's the funny thing. I've seen United fans online who will literally call Ten Hag a bully for the Sancho situation, but then turn around and look at this Conor Gallagher situation and say, that's what we need to be doing with McTominay. I'm like, what? Make that make sense. You can't have it both ways. Danny B says, besides Palmer, he was their best player last season. Yeah, I think Conor Gallagher is amazing. I did see a picture of Cole Palmer when he was a kid wearing a United top. So once a red, always a red, right? Maybe we can get him in. No, I'm just kidding. I like Ahmad. But again, can you imagine what would be going on that with Ten Hag banishing like McTominay from training or something? Or if we're talking to Mainoo about contract talks and he doesn't want to extend, or Ahmad, and we're like, no, you're banished until you figure this out. Like the backlash. Chelsea can't afford to lose Conor Gallagher with the way they've been going, with a new manager. If I were Enzo Maresca and if I've done my homework and I've watched the squad over the last couple of seasons, I'd be like, no, Conor Gallagher is who we need on this pitch. He is who we need. Honest to God, and I'm not even saying this to bash Chelsea. If I'm Enzo Maresca and I'm watching that, Conor Gallagher is the captain from here on in, because that dude plays like a captain week in, week out. Like, I know he's younger than some of the other players, but Conor Gallagher is one of the most underrated players I've seen in this league the last couple seasons. Yeah, Danny says Palmer, you support. Everybody supported United as a kid. Jack Grealish out here talking smack about being a blue. I mean, you not remember when he was at Villa talking about Manchester is red? We got receipts, Grealish. Like, we have receipts, my guy. Probably not as many as you have from the bars, but hey, it is what it is. Alcoholics. And to close things out, so again, told you it was kind of random. Not a whole lot of transfer news going on. It's usually slow on a match day, but some interesting stuff. To close things out, have you seen the leaked photo of Casemiro? I think he's posing with Gary Oldman. So big up Sirius Black for being a United fan. But he's posing in the long sleeve version of the upcoming George Best collection that United are going to be releasing next month now. Have you seen that thing? That thing is a thing of beauty. United, just take my money. I'm going to go broke, y'all. With the away strip this year, the third when it comes out, I saw a leaked photo of the long sleeve version of that third. I'm a jersey. I like the jerseys. I like the design that goes into them. I like last year's home strip. My buddy loves last year's home strip. He says it's one of his favorites, just with the incorporation of the rose and everything. We love and appreciate that kind of attention to detail. So big up Adidas for finally getting it right after so many shit years. Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking shirt from this George Best collection. I like it a lot, but let me know. I just want to check and see, does anybody know for sure if this match tonight has been called off? The rain is falling at Williams-Brice Stadium. There was flash flood warnings. It's 30 minutes whenever there's a single flash of lightning. Eventually, you're going to have to call it off if there's too much lightning. I know I checked weather.com in the area just before going live, and it looked like right around kickoff was when the thunderstorms are probably going to be at their worst. It was supposed to kind of dissipate after a while, but again, anytime there's a lightning strike at all, you automatically cancel it. So we'll see how it goes. Planning to go over to my buddy's house. You guys might be meeting him next weekend. I'm planning to do a video with some guests, so that'll be a fun video if you guys want to stop by and check that out. It will be a bit more interactive, not only with me and a couple of people with me, but with you guys as well. You're going to see a little bit more of the studio/library. So look forward to that. Does the new camera look better? It's probably a little darker because I don't have the light turned up, but did get a new camera because I wanted a bit more clarity. I watched one of my videos on YouTube on the TV early this morning, and I was like, man, that looks blurry. I didn't know if it was just the ring light being too bright or what, but I thought getting a new camera could help. So Danny B says, have a good night, man. Gonna get Chinese takeout and watch the boxing. Yeah, good luck, man. I'm not a big boxing guy. I did watch UFC for a while. Never been huge into boxing, but hey, not dissing it. It's just I've only got so much time in my day, so it's usually football and nothing else. So look forward to the Chinese, man. You're making me hungry. Chinese sounds so. There's a really good Chinese spot around the corner from me. I might have to grab that tomorrow because now you're making me want Chinese food. But in any case, Danny B, enjoy the fight. Everybody else enjoy the night. Everyone who stopped by today, Issa, Karina, everybody who stopped by, appreciate you guys. Don't forget the like button on your way out. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new and here for the first time. Get involved in the comments if you're not able to watch it live. I do respond to everybody's comments, and I will see you guys on the next one. Enjoy the match tonight if it does go on, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Later.